Guess who's back? Yeah,
It's us.
yeah. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you all for joining us. This is the third session for today. The third day, the third session. Very special, right? And we have Antonia from Unity 3D, and also my wonderful co-host Jennifer, who is going to be doing her wonderful magic by introducing our speaker for today's session.
Thanks, Arome. Really pleased to have Antonia with us today. Antonia Forster is an XR technical specialist with a decade of experience in public speaking and several years of experience developing XR applications. In her role at Unity, she worked across industry verticals from automotive to architecture, creating demos, delivering talks, and using XR to push the boundaries of what's possible. I know a lot of our listeners and watchers at this point are huge Unity fans, and so I think they're all ready and waiting to hear all the great information you have to share with us, Antonia. So passing it over to you. We can't wait to hear what great things you have for us today.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for coming here today. So my name is Antonia Forster. My pronouns are she, her, and I am an XR technical specialist at Unity, as I've just been introduced. So I'm sure most of you know, but for anyone who doesn't, XR stands for extended realities, and it's just an umbrella term that covers VR and virtual reality, or an AR, augmented reality, and kind of combinations of those technologies. So I specialize in that technology specifically, blending the real with the virtual world, and also delivering talks and educational content to empower other people to start using that technology as well. So I expect that many of you here in the audience either already have XR development skills and would like to know where you can apply those in different professions or industries, or maybe you don't have experience yet, but you're interested in getting started in XR and you want to know which tools you should learn to start gaining those most industry relevant skills. So my goal today is to answer both those questions for you. Which industries are using XR right now and how? And which tools should you use to start your learning? So this is how my talk is going to be structured here today. First, I want to show you how these technologies are being used to revolutionize a range of industries. Now, I can't talk about them all. XR is used in such a wide range of industries like government, renewable energy, aerospace, location-based entertainment, like in theme parks. So I've left all those examples out. I've had to narrow it down to a few industry verticals, which I work in. So automotive, engineering, construction, architecture, and a few more as well. And then I'd like to outline some of Unity's XR solutions. Again, we have a huge number of different customized software solutions, so I won't go into them all, but I will outline the ones that I would recommend either for new developers or for experienced XR developers looking to use their skills in industry. Now, I know access to mixed reality devices can be really challenging because when I became an XR developer, I actually didn't have a headset of any kind. So I started out developing for mobile devices. So in this talk, while I will show some very high-end industry equipment, I'm also going to focus on what you can learn on a budget, particularly on mobile solutions. And then I want to leave you with some additional resources to continue your learning journey. So I'm really curious how many of you have experience already developing either with Unity, but not XR, or developing XR experiences. So let me know in the comments or in the chat if you have access to it. I've got access to the comments here, so I can see if anyone is able to chat and let me know their experience level. So some of you say you do have experience. Seems like some people do have experience in Unity, but not with XR. And seems like some of you do have experience with XR in Unity and others with XR, but not in Unity. So it seems like a lot of you have experimented a little bit with XR. Even if you haven't, don't worry about it. The good news is, if you do have experience developing in Unity, but not with XR, you can use exactly the same tools and workflows and even your existing assets to build XR experiences. If you do have experience developing in XR, but in some other engine, then I would recommend learning Unity's core offering, the Unity editor, as the first place to start. So in case some of you haven't seen Unity before or haven't used it, this is what the editor looks like. This is kind of Unity's core offering. It's our engine and our platform. It's an interactive real-time 3D development platform with built-in lighting and physics engine. And I'll dive into what I mean by that in just a moment. And you can use the Unity editor to make all kinds of games or experiences. And as we'll see in this talk, this is not limited to games, but a wide range of industries. The good news is building XR in Unity is not very different to building anything else in Unity. So if you have existing characters or environments, you can make them virtual reality with just a couple of clicks. But why would you want to do that? What's the benefit of XR content in industrial applications? Why is it so beneficial to have XR development skills as part of your professional portfolio? Well, that's because the world is changing. Many industries used to be built for a 2D world, but they're finding that that process is slow, it's costly, and it doesn't accurately reflect the 3D nature of the products that they're selling or the things they're building. And users are changing as well. More and more users are expecting interactive content and immersive experiences. What we're finding is that traditional tools used in a wide range of industries just can't adapt to this new kind of content. So many people are moving to interactive, real-time 3D engines instead. And I want to explain exactly what I mean by that. Interactive is fairly self-explanatory. The way we consume media or engage with content is changing. Imagine if shopping for furniture or products wasn't done via a static website, but instead maybe by augmented reality. You could use that to visualize the furniture in your home and choose custom colors. And that's a huge benefit of XR, especially because putting content in people's real environment is very powerful, and giving users interactivity leads to higher conversion and more sales. Next, real time. What do I mean by real time? Well, in the world, especially of media and animation, a lot of things are asynchronous. For example, if you're making a film, you would render it out and then view it. That's asynchronous. And that means you can't make changes as it's happening. You'd have to make a change and then re-render the whole thing. One of the huge benefits of Unity is its power to render amazing visuals in real time. So things like lighting and physics are calculated immediately. So you can make dynamic changes. So in this shot, the user is moving the tree around, and you can see the physics and the lighting adjusting accordingly straight away. You don't have to wait for a whole film to render out in order to make changes. And finally, 2D content is becoming 3D. This is especially true when it comes to XR. Rather than viewing content on a screen, we can see things either in our real 3D environment, or we can be inside a virtual 3D showroom or gallery. 3D content is more exciting, it's more engaging, and it also allows you to see and do things that you otherwise wouldn't be able to. So Unity is a real-time 3D development environment. You can use it to make content that you would view on a normal monitor, or you can use it to make AR and VR experiences. As I said, you can take an existing environment that isn't virtual reality and turn it into one very easily. So I want to show you just a few examples of how Unity is being used by some of our real clients in industry and some of the success that they've found. So Toyota, who is one of the world's leading car manufacturers, use Unity in combination with the HoloLens 2. That's an AR head-mounted display, which has a transparent screen so that you can see the real world, and you can also see virtual objects augmented on top. And they used this to solve one of the issues they were facing. One of the big challenges that car manufacturers have is how to show the hidden functions inside a vehicle after it's been assembled, particularly if those functions require the vehicle to be in motion. How can you possibly visualize that in real time in 3D to give engineers that contextual understanding? Well, Toyota achieved this by using Unity to create an AR application. And that allows users to move around and to see the inner parts of a virtual moving vehicle overlaid onto a real stationary car, which makes a task that would have been impossible now safe and easy to perform. In the engineering sector, ABB is a supplier of industrial machinery and equipment, as well as software. And their field operators have to go out and service dangerous equipment. So they need very time-consuming and expensive training programs before they head out on site. Once they're in the field doing procedures, they track what they've done on paper, and they have to process that later, which can lead to mistakes and communication issues. So to resolve this problem, ABB used Unity to create their own software solution, again on the HoloLens 2 augmented reality display. And that allows field operators to follow instructions digitally while they're doing procedures. This is called AR-assisted maintenance and repair. This reduces the need for training, and it sends data back to the facility in real time. So it makes it very easy to track which procedures have been done, and it reduces communication issues and errors. In the construction industry, VR is widely used for safety training and for site inductions, where it can save organizations time and money, and it can also save lives. Skanska is the 5th largest construction company in the world, and they commissioned a creative agency called Out Here to develop a realistic VR safety training program for their employees using Unity. Using VR to train your employees is faster, cheaper, and safer than taking them on site for traditional training. And it's also more effective than traditional learning methods like a quiz or a multiple choice test, because in VR, you can make an employee feel at risk without putting them in any real danger. Behavioral science shows that VR training leads to lasting behavioral changes. So that VR program resulted in increased worker awareness of job hazards, fewer accidents, and higher productivity. And AR and VR are also transforming the film industry. AR, for example, can be used to accurately visualize characters or props in real-life locations, even if you haven't built that prop or you don't have that character available. So this is an application created by The Mill, and The Mill is a global creative agency. They used Unity to create this application on iOS for iPads called The Mill Scout. By visualizing and adjusting props in real-life locations, it allows producers to accurately plan their shots, scout locations for shooting, and to make necessary changes before production. And VR is being used to revolutionize film as well. In order to film The Lion King, the team at Magnopus used Unity to build special tools that allow the Lion King team to shoot in VR as if they were on set. So you can see them using familiar tools like dollies and drones and regular cameras, but they're actually shooting in a virtual world. This meant they could view it immersively inside a headset, or they could see it on a monitor. This means they acted in the same way as if they were shooting on location, but without all of the drawbacks of shooting on location, and with complete control over the virtual world. They could control the position of every tree, every animal, and also the time of day, which allowed them to achieve an amazing final product. AR can also be used for sales and marketing. So Ikea, one of the biggest furniture retailers in the world, used Unity to create the Ikea Place App. It's a mobile app which allows a customer to scan their room to locate the floor and the walls, and then place furniture of an appropriate size in the environment. They can then configure and visualize the product, maybe choosing different colors, and that increases the likelihood of conversion and purchase. And of course, AR can be used in gaming. Thanks to the increasing power of mobile devices, we can reuse characters and create new content with them. Intelligent augmented reality applications can give viewers the feeling that they're really interacting with the characters in their environment. So this is Pokemon Go, a very popular mobile game made by Niantic using Unity. So XR, as you can see, is transforming a really wide range of industries. If you're an XR developer or you're interested in becoming one, your skills will be in demand across a wide range of sectors. But one of the biggest challenges of XR is that there's so many different tools available, from hardware to software, and it's always changing. It can feel overwhelming at times, trust me, I know. So I just want to briefly explain some of the XR solutions that Unity offers and the kinds of problems that they solve to help you pick the right one for your application. One of the challenges with XR is that different devices have different capabilities, different hardware. So historically, you would have had to develop your application specifically for one device. For example, if you want to build something for an Android phone, historically, you would have had to use AR Core, which is Google's AR SDK, or software developer kit for mobile. If you wanted to build for an Apple device, like an iPhone or an iPad, you would have had to use AR Kit, which is Apple's software developer kit. Wouldn't it be great if you could just build it once and then deploy it to all devices? Well, that's where AR Foundation comes in, which is Unity's solution. It doesn't implement any extra features itself, but instead it's like a multi-platform layer that sits in between the Unity editor and then specific APIs like ARKit and AR Core. That means when you build something in AR Foundation, you can create it once and then deploy it to whichever platform or device you have access to. Any of the features available in AR Core or ARKit are also available in AR Foundation. So for example, in ARKit on iOS devices, you can use people occlusion, which means you can have a person walk in front of the virtual object and that object will disappear. You can use 3D and 2D body tracking, collaborative sessions, and more. AR Foundation is available via the package manager in the Unity editor, and it is completely free. So how does Unity achieve this multi-platform support so that you can build once and deploy anywhere? Well, the way it works, as I briefly mentioned, is through packages. The hardware, let's say your Android phone, communicates with its own SDK. In Google's case, it's the AR Core SDK. That is made by Google. So to build to an Android phone in Unity, you just need to download the AR Core Unity package, which sits above this, and then the AR Foundation package, which sits above that. Those two packages bridge the gap and pass messages down the chain from your Unity application all the way down to Google's SDK and then to the device itself. And because of this modular way of working, when you build applications with Unity, you can deploy to over 20 different platforms. These are just some of them. So you can use Unity to build for gaming consoles, for mobile devices, for PCs, and also for VR and AR devices. So if you want to become an XR developer and you're not sure where to start, I would highly recommend looking into AR Foundation as a starting point and developing for mobile devices because they're generally quite easy to access. There's also loads of educational content out there. These are kind of the kind of apps you can make using AR Foundation. So on the left, we have face tracking, which is one of the features available, spawning virtual objects onto a horizontal plane, or in the final example, spawning animated characters onto an image marker. In fact, those first two examples there have full tutorials available on our platform Unity Learn, which is completely free. And I will give you the link to those at the end of the talk. For those of you who already create AR applications, you may have run into some of the challenges of doing that. For example, usually to test an AR app, you have to deploy it to a device and then walk around the space to test it. That takes up a lot of time. It's one of the most time-consuming parts of developing AR applications. It also means you have to be in an appropriate location to test your app. How do you test an app that's meant to work in a big room or outdoors or in a museum if you only have access to a small studio? Also, maybe you want your virtual character to interact intelligently with the environment. Maybe you want them to behave differently when they're on the floor or if they're on a table. Maybe you want to define a rule to procedurally generate content, let's say grass all over the floor. For those more complex use cases, we have a special new solution called Unity Mars. Mars is our new tool for authoring augmented reality applications. It's essentially a set of tools and workflows that make it really easy to develop highly intelligent AR applications. In fact, you can build very, very complex AR applications without any need to code whatsoever. It's built on top of AR Foundation, and that means you get all of AR Foundation's benefits. It's multi-platform, you can deploy to any device, but you also get additional tools which really speed up the AR app creation process. Mars requires an additional license on top of the Unity editor, so it does have a cost associated with it, but it's available to anyone for a 45-day free trial to learn, and after that, it costs $600 per year. So to give you a quick peek into what Mars provides, one tool is called the simulation view. This is basically a virtual world that lets you test your app without having to push it to your phone. These pictures are taken from the development of an app called Dr. Seuss's ABC that was made by Sugar Creative, a UK digital content creation agency. And they used Mars to create that app. What you're seeing on the left there is a simulated bedroom. This is one of many virtual environments that we provide in Mars, and it lets you test your app in a realistic way right inside the Unity editor. On the right, you can see the app in the real world. You can see that the real world view is a faithful reproduction of the predicted behavior in the virtual testing environment. And believe me, this massively reduces the amount of time that it takes to produce and test an AR app. So that saves an organization a lot of time and money. It also means that if you're creating an app for a large environment like a museum, but you don't have access to the site and you only have a small studio, you can still test the app in a virtual reproduction of that environment without having to actually be there. In fact, one of the features is you can scan an environment and bring that in as your virtual testing environment. So AR Foundation and Mars are two of Unity's most important native solutions for XR, particularly for AR. But we also have a wide range of partners that make tools that combine with the Unity editor to make it even easier to build AR and VR content. All of the solutions I'm going to show from here in are Unity verified service partners. Being verified means their tools are guaranteed to be fully integrated with and optimized for Unity and will be supported in the long term. So learning these in combination with Unity is a very powerful step for your career as an XR developer. First of all, to carry on the topic of mobile AR, we have a partner called Echo AR. Using Echo AR's website, you can upload a model and immediately get a QR code which you can give to anyone. And when they scan that QR code with their phone, the person's device will show your model in AR. This is brilliant, by the way, if you want to create augmented reality business cards. You can sign up and start using their tool completely for free at console.echoar.xyz. If you're a Unity developer, you can also use their software to stream your character into the Unity editor or into a Unity app that you've made. So you can create a custom web-based AR application with any kind of function that you can imagine. Another one of our partners is called Pace Lab Weaver. Weaver is a set of tools that is specialized for making VR training applications. So this video here is an example of what someone can make using Weaver. Weaver has 3 separate parts to it. There's the creator, which sits on top of the Unity editor, and that's the part that a developer like yourself would use to actually allow them to build the VR training application. Then there's the part called manager. This is like a hub for managers in a company, so they can delegate certain VR training to certain employees and see who's done the training and even see their results. And then there's the player. That's the part we're seeing here, which is the part that the employee would use to actually access the VR training application. Weaver has visual scripting solutions, so node-based scripting, which means that you can create VR training applications without needing to code. So if you're interested in creating VR training for industry, but you can't program, don't be put off. There are solutions out there. Also, I should note that when you create content in Weaver, it's multi-platform across different types of XR devices. So by that, I mean you can build the same training application for a tablet, so it's interactive, but it's not mixed reality, or for tablet augmented reality. So you could show the virtual object anchored to a real table, or head-mounted augmented reality with something like a HoloLens, or completely immersively in a VR headset. So you can create and manage the content across all those devices from one single central hub. Because VR safety training saves organizations lots of time and money compared to traditional training, it's a very popular use case across industry. So we actually have another solutions partner for VR training as well, called Interact. Interact is different to Weaver in that it doesn't have that 3-part solution or that back-end hub for managers that Weaver does. Instead, Interact's focus is on an accurate physics engine. So you can run complex safety simulations which even incorporate body collision detection and ergonomic analysis. It also allows multi-user interaction, so people can collaborate in VR. It also natively supports hand tracking and full body tracking as long as you have the right hardware, so you can incorporate that into safety training as well. And the final XR partner that I want to talk about is Vario. Unlike these last 4 partners that I mentioned, Vario is a provider of both hardware and software. In fact, they are the first ever hardware provider to become a verified solutions partner with Unity. They manufacture extremely high-end, high-performance XR and VR headsets with capabilities like human eye resolution at 70 pixels per degree, photorealistic video pass-through, and integrated hand tracking. I want to show you just a quick video of the kind of thing that can be created with Unity and Vario in combination. So in this, you'll see that the user is seeing a real office environment. That's a video pass-through. And then the robot and the headset they're seeing are augmented on top. The power of Vario combined with Unity really allows you to develop extremely high-end industrial XR applications. And the skills you need to develop these kinds of things, you don't necessarily need to access the headset to start developing those skills. You can just download the Unity editor and start deploying to mobile devices. And that is a completely adequate way to start the journey. It's actually how I started out becoming an XR developer myself. So hopefully you're excited to start learning or continue learning XR if you already have XR skills. But you might be wondering, where do I go? What do I do next? It's a lot of information. Well, hopefully now you have an understanding of how XR is used across different industries, the different Unity solutions and Unity partner solutions that are available if you want to start gaining those skills. And hopefully you've also seen how easy it is to get started. So what next? These are the steps that I recommend. If you want to find out more about AR Foundation or Mars, you can visit their product pages above. And if you want to jump in and start creating AR applications, I highly recommend the links shown here. If you want to dive in and learn VR instead, I've provided links for that too. Now, all of this learning material is available completely for free. and almost all of the software too. So the Unity editor is completely free for personal use. AR Foundation is totally free, and Mars does have a cost associated with it, but is available for a free trial. So whether you're new to XR or an experienced developer that wants to boost their skills, I would highly encourage you to download Unity, jump into one of these courses, and to start learning. Finally, thank you so much for coming to this talk here today. I really hope you found it helpful. Feel free to reach out to me either on LinkedIn or on Twitter if you have any questions at all about XR or any feedback on this talk. Once again, thank you so much for coming today, and have fun creating. Thank you.
Amazing. Amazing.
Great
Well done.
job.
Thank
Great
you.
job, Antonia. Yeah, so we have some questions that have been coming up on our chat as you've been presenting. And so let's make sure we get those addressed because there's some good ones, I think. I'm gonna pop one of those up. Yeah, so Ashish is asking about multiplayer-based games or applications based on AR. And then also asking about Google released Cloud Anchor and Microsoft Spatial Anchors, and just generally what you think of multiplayer AR.
Yeah, it's a big question. One of the challenges is that there's no guarantee that people have the same devices. So version control is really important and a really big challenge for AR developers. If you have one person using iOS and one person using Android, one of the great things about Unity is you can deploy to both those devices, but having those devices communicate directly to collaborate on an AR multiplayer experience is quite challenging. So I'd say multiplayer AR, and VR as well, but AR more so. One of the big challenges is that real-time collaboration or multiplayer experience is quite hard to implement when devices are so varied and device capabilities are so varied. Another is that AR has to be anchored in the real world. And so you have to ensure that the kind of protocols for computer vision and for spatial tracking are similar on the same devices. So I'm not sure whether you mean the use case of having two people in the same location or two people in different locations. Personally, I find that really exciting, the idea that people could be in two different places, but could both visualize something on a table, for example, and interact with it. But the challenge there, of course, is you have wildly different anchor conditions. You have different lighting as well, different size. If they're in the same location, that does remove some of the complexity. But yeah, there's definitely challenges there, but I think it's brilliant. I think we'll also see more of it. There's a great example by Sugar Creative, who created the Dr. Seuss ABC. They also created the Wallace and Gromit. Oh, I'm going to call it the wrong thing now. They created a Wallace and Gromit application, which is a multi-user AR experience. So it's location-based. You go to specific locations and you can interact with things that are happening. It's actually, it's anchored in my local city here in Bristol in the UK. So that there definitely are examples out there of AR multiplayer experiences. And I think we'll see more as devices gain more capabilities. I hope that answered the question.
Yes, I think it did. And we've had lots of comments around, here's one here, just saying, nice to meet you here again. Awesome presentation, blown away by your team solution. So lots of kudos to you and the team with regards to the advancement.
I think people in this chat know each other, which is nice. One thing I will say about XR is there's such a great community. Like people... I reach out a lot on, if you follow my Twitter or my LinkedIn, especially my Twitter, I reach out a lot saying, here's what I'm working on. Here's my experiments. What do you think? What would you do next? How do I do this specific technical thing? And I come from a non-technical background. So I used to be in scientific research. I guess it's technical in its own way, but I didn't code. I had no programming experience. Unity is the first thing that I learned to start learning any kind of coding. And I jumped straight into VR basically. And it was just great. So yeah, the community's been amazing. And I think that's one of the best things about learning Unity, especially, is that there's this huge community of users out there, which I'm so grateful for. And I'm so grateful we get to interact with them and see what they're building. So yeah, all of you who are using Unity out there, thank you for being part of this amazing community. It just makes me so happy.
Antonia, quick question for you, because I think a lot of people after hearing you speak would be surprised to hear that you don't have a technical background and that you really haven't been in XR for a really, really long period of time. So, if you could give some advice to people watching, for people that feel like they want to do this, but they don't necessarily have a lot of skill behind, under their belts or what have you, where's the best place to get contacted, or in contact, I guess I should say, with the community to help you if you're first starting out?
I'd say that Unity Learn is a great resource. So there's loads of videos, and you can also filter by your skill level. So you can start at novice, and you'll find videos on like, how do I install Unity? How do I install AR Foundation? What are they? What's the package manager? And there's absolutely no shame in not knowing. I don't think of myself as a technical person, even though my role is technical specialist. I don't think I'm technically minded. But the great thing about Unity is that there are so many tools and solutions out there. So as I said, when I started making XR experiences, and I didn't really know how to code. But there are solutions out there like Bolt, which is a visual scripting language for Unity, and that's node-based, so you can visually see what's going on. Same with Shader Graph and VFX Graph. Those are ARP-based node tools or visual scripting tools, so you can create things without having to jump into C# immediately. However, if you can code, and I would highly recommend learning to code because it is not as overwhelming as it looks. I used to think it was like complex mathematics, and it is at the high end, but when you're starting to learn to code, it's more like learning Spanish or Chinese. It's a language. It's called a language for a reason. And so it's really not as intimidating as I once thought it was. So in terms of contacting the community, I would say using the right hashtags on Twitter, you can find people. The Made with Unity hashtag, I find a lot of people respond to. There's a Unity forum as well. I'd highly recommend going on the forum if you have any technical queries, and then you'll find other people who've asked. Users will pitch in, and also Unity ourselves monitor that forum and we'll pitch in with our solutions as well. And there's also tons of tutorials on YouTube and also on Udemy. That's how I started learning. I actually started with a course on Udemy, and then I started learning from tutorials on YouTube as well. So there's no end of free content out there. My main advice would be, it's very different in tech and especially in XR compared to other fields. I come from a background in biology, and something that was true 50 years ago is most of the time probably still true now. That's not true with tech or XR. If you find a tutorial that's a year old or 2 years old, it just might not be relevant. So I'd say if you start learning and you find a tutorial and it doesn't work, it doesn't mean you're in the wrong. Just keep trying to find new things because it's evolving all the time, and you have to be a little bit resilient and determined, I think, to work in XR.
Thank you so much, Antonia.
Thank you.
We have continued this session, but we're short of time. We have to jump onto our next speaker. And hopefully we'll have a more detailed session where you can also share your developments and also all the projects you have done. Great. And thank you for watching. Thank you, Jennifer, for being amazing as always. And see you all on our next session. We have Eric from Microsoft who will be sharing his own insight with MR, right? So Microsoft Mesh and the entire ecosystem. So join us for that session. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.